Hey friends, this is Karen Warner again, here to share another couple of chapters from our Read Aloud Front Desk by Kelly Yang. I hope you're doing well this week. It's been a very interesting last few weeks for us, and I have to say, it's been very helpful for me to be able to share a read aloud with you. Makes me feel like I'm a little bit closer to you and checking in with you in one of my favorite ways, which is by reading together. So right now I'm going to read a couple of more chapters from Front Desk. Unfortunately, these are going to be my last few chapters that I read through a video with you on the Sacagawea YouTube site. I am going to do some live reading, like reading in my Zooms with my students the last week of school. But as far as the videos go, those will be finishing up. This will be our last one. All right. So I hope you've been enjoying listening to the read aloud with me. So let's go ahead and get started. We're on chapter 11. Uncle Ming stayed for 3 days until he could get his car fixed. With his broken English, he had a hard time communicating with the garages, so I helped him call one up that was close by. At first, they weren't so keen to help. When they heard my voice, they said, "Sorry, we don't work on toy cars." I called back, and this time I borrowed a line from my customers. "I'd like to speak to the manager," I said. In the end, I got the manager to send someone over to the motel to take a look at Uncle Ming's car. The repair guy told Uncle Ming he had a radiator problem. They managed to drive the car over to the garage where they fixed it for him, but when it came time to settle the bill, Uncle Ming came horribly short. We'd given him $50, which was just about all the extra cash we had, what with Mr. Yao changing the deal and making us pay for the washing machine. But the total bill was $200. So then Uncle Ming tried something crazy. He tried to pay the rest in coupons. He'd been collecting coupons from all over. There were coupons for free chicken nuggets at McDonald's, free haircuts at Supercuts, and free frozen yogurt. There were even coupons for free foot massages. "You can't pay in coupons," the garage manager wailed. "What am I going to do with free foot massages?" "We'll take them," his mechanics blurted out from the back of the garage. "Please, sir," Uncle Ming begged the manager. "It's all I have." The manager looked at Uncle Ming for a while, and after much deliberation, he sighed. He took the $50 and the coupons, which he distributed to his mechanics. Everybody cheered. I couldn't believe it. We all waved as Uncle Ming drove away. He promised to return soon and to pay my parents back the $50. My dad told him not to worry about it and to focus on getting far, far away from the loan sharks. In school that week, Mrs. Douglas asked us to write a short story. I really wanted to write about the loan sharks, but I didn't know if that was too out there, so I tried to look around to see what other people were writing. Next to me, Jason was scribbling furiously, covering his words with his hand as he wrote. I leaned over, trying to peek at his writing, but Jason shifted his body, blocking my view with his arm. Great! Now he had an arm wall. He turned to me and hissed, "Stop it!" then narrowed his eyes at me. "Mia, eyes on your own paper, please," Mrs. Douglas frowned. She said it like I was cheating. I opened my mouth in protest, then closed it. I blew at my bangs in frustration instead and plunged my eyes down on the blank page in front of me. Remember, show, not tell. Write what you feel, kids, Mrs. Douglas announced to the class. If you're mad, write mad. If you're sad or you're worried, write sad or worried. I was all those things. I thought about Uncle Ming and his black eye and the way his voice rose and fell like a curtain when he said, "What do I do, buddy? They're going to kill me." But when I put my pencil down onto the paper, do you know what marched onto the page? Puppies and houses. At lunch, Lupe sat down next to me, picking at her turkey sandwich while I gobbled up my free school spaghetti. "Why were you looking at Jason's paper?" Lupe asked. "You don't like him, do you?" "Are you kidding? I can't stand him." "Good, because he's terrible," Lupe said. "You don't even know the half of it," I muttered, shaking my head. "So what did you write about?" "I wrote about how last weekend my parents and I waited in line at the movies for an hour. And when we finally got up to the ticket booth, lady, they were sold out. Isn't that sad?" "That is super sad," I said, hoping one day that would be my super sad. "What about you? What did you do this weekend?" she asked. I turned to tell her about Uncle Ming, then thought, nah, she wouldn't get it. That was so beyond the world of movies and trampolines and Shiba Inus. "Just played with my dog," I lied. After lunch, we went to PE. We were playing softball that day. Both Lupe and I stood way out in left field, as far away from the action as we could, since we both hated sports. Actually, I didn't really hate sports. We just didn't have any medical insurance, and my parents didn't want me taking any chances. "What if you break your arm?" my mom asked when I started going to school in America. "What if a ball comes flying, hits you in the head, and you have to have stitches?" Back in China, this would have been no problem as my uncle was a doctor. Whenever I got sick, he'd come over and take care of me. My uncle always wore his stethoscope around his neck, and when we left for America, he gave it to my dad to take with him. "I wish I could take you with me," my dad said to his brother. "I'm sure there are doctors in America," my uncle said with a chuckle. Turned out there were doctors, just not for us. So my mom made me promise every morning that I'd stay on the sidelines during gym class. It wasn't always easy to just stand and watch, but now at least I had Lupe with me. Today, we were so busy chatting, we didn't even notice when the softball landed right next to us. Lupe glanced at the ball and went right back to chatting. She didn't even pick it up. She must really hate sports. Chapter 12. Instead of going straight home after school that day, I took the long way back, stopping at various restaurants. I was collecting brochures for the front office. Mr. Yao may be an cheapskate, unbelievable cheapskate, but there were some free things we could do to spruce up the place, like putting flyers out for local establishments, or collecting customers' mailing addresses, which I'd already started doing. Anytime a customer checked in, I asked them for their home address, so if they left something behind, I could mail it back to them. I was in the middle of sorting through the mountain of brochures and menus when a slightly disheveled looking white man walked up and tapped on the glass. He was tapping furiously, like it was an emergency. So I buzzed him in. That was when it hit me. The sour stench of sweat and alcohol. My throat tightened as the wave of stink crashed into the room. The man was completely drunk. I should not have buzzed him in. I need a room, he slurred, stumbling toward me. He steadied himself by holding onto the front desk with both hands. Give me a room. I need to go get my parents. Wait right here, I told him, desperate to get away from this guy. As I hopped off the stool, I realized, wait a minute, I can't leave him here. He could reach over and take all our cash from the cash drawer. He had to go back out. Actually, can you wait outside? I asked timidly. He did not like the sound of that. The man turned to me with his bloodshot eyes and pounded his hand on the counter. What did you say? He bellowed. My mind was racing. I could probably still get out of there if I let him stay inside. But then, what about the cash? Please, sir, I tried again. I just need you to wait outside. Why? Why can't I stay right here? He demanded. You just can't, I shouted. I glanced out the window, searching for my parents, but they were still upstairs cleaning. Suddenly, he grabbed me by my shirt. Are you jerking me around, kid? Are you? No, sir. Shook my head from side to side. His rancid breath stung my eyes. With my fingers, I tried to reach for the phone, but his grip on my shirt was too tight. Please, just calm down, I pleaded with him. I thought maybe I could distract him with all my restaurant brochures. Hey, are you hungry? I have a bunch of menus. I don't want to see some damn menu, he screamed into my face. I want a motel room. The next thing I knew, he pounded the counter so hard, the wood nearly chipped. I screamed. Tears streamed down my eyes. Through the blur of my tears, I saw a figure outside, banging on the front office door. It was Hank. Quickly, I reached down and pressed on the buzzer. Hank stormed inside. What the hell do you think you're doing? Hank hollered at the drunk man. Let her go. The drunk man instantly dropped his hands, and I gasped for air, like I'd been holding my breath the entire time. Hank raised his fist. Get out of here before I call the cops, he yelled. The drunk man dragged himself out of the front office, muttering under his breath. She was jerking me around, man. When he finally disappeared around the corner, Hank turned to me. You all right? He said. I shook my head. I lifted the divider and collapsed into his arms. I clung to him and cried, shaking with fear, blind with gratitude. What would have happened to me had Hank not come in? The thought crushed the breath out of me. Shh, it's okay. Hank comforted me, patting my arm. But it wasn't okay. I thought I could make the front desk better with all my spare keys and comments cards. But no card in the world could protect me from what I'd been avoiding since day one. One wrong buzz, and it was all over. This was not just fun and games. This was dangerous. Chapter 13. I didn't wash my shirt after the drunk guy left. Instead, I draped it over a chair in my room. It was a reminder of what could happen any day. And every morning when I opened my eyes, I would look at it, at the spot where he had grabbed me, and wonder how we could make the Calavista safer. I came up with 3 possible ways. Number 1, install bulletproof glass up and down the front desk. That way, even if I buzzed in the wrong person, there was still an additional layer of protection between me and the customer. Number 2, install a security camera in the front office. It would be doubly great if the video feed went directly to a certain channel on all the motel TVs. That way, my parents could see what was going on in the front office while they were cleaning each room and come down if I needed help. Number 3, install a panic button right under the front desk to call the police. It would work just like a buzzer. All I'd have to do was press it and the police would come. Later that week, I told Mr. Yao my ideas when he came by. He immediately shot them down. All that stuff costs money. You think money grows on trees? I checked at the library and bulletproof glass only costs $25, I told him. I glanced at Jason, who as usual came with his dad and as usual didn't say anything helpful. $25 per square foot. And that doesn't include the installation, Mr. Yao said. What about the security camera? I asked. That can't be that expensive. You could put it. No, Mr. Yao interrupted. Please just hear me out, I said. The answer is no, Mr. Yao snapped. I looked over at my mom and my dad, but they just shook their heads. Let it go, my dad mouthed. He had dark circles under his eyes from checking customers in all last night. Why don't we go outside? My parents suggested to Mr. Yao. Let us show you the new washing machine. Mr. Yao nodded and followed my parents out the back. Jason stayed behind, fiddling with the restaurant menus. Quietly, he muttered, I think the security camera is a good idea. I almost didn't hear him. What? I asked. The security camera, he said. Not a bad idea. I stared at him. Well, why didn't you say so? I asked him. He shrugged. I know why. Because he was too chicken to stand up to his dad. I shook my head at him. Coward. Mr. Yao came back and told Jason it was time to go. Jason hopped off the stool, took a few menus from my collection, and stuffed them into his pocket. I followed them out to the parking lot. Mr. Yao, I tried one last time, if you'll just go home and think about what I said, it really wouldn't cost much and it would make the motel so much safer. Mr. Yao stopped walking and turned to me. You know what's the difference between a good employee and a bad employee? He asked, jabbing his finger into my chest at exactly the same spot the drunk guy grabbed me. I shook my head. It's not whether they're hardworking, or even whether they're smart, he said, staring into my eyes. It's whether they know their place. As he and Jason piled into their car and drove away, I stood in the parking lot for a long, long time. The hot California sun blazed down on me, yet I felt no warmth. So, boys and girls, we're going to stop there today. I've read you 3 chapters this time, and we've made a real dent in this book. We've read a lot of Front Desk. I know there are ways you're going to be able to find this book for yourselves, the local library. Maybe you'll find it in one of the bookstores and want to continue reading it. Who knows? But I do want you to know it's worth continuing to read. I plan to finish it myself this summer. So, in the meantime, next week I'll read to the class in person a few chapters as well. All right? So I hope you all have a great week. And I want you to know I'm always thinking about you and hoping that you're safe and you're calm and you're enjoying life with your family. All right? So take good care, and I'll see you soon.